are going over the disappearance of Rachael Garden on March 22nd, 1980. A 15-year-old girl walks out of Rose Corner Market in Newton, New Hampshire, with gum and cigarettes in her hand. She starts a 15-minute walk she's made before, but this time, she never makes it. Her name was Rachael Elizabeth Garden, and more than 40 years later, her case is still unsolved. Alright, let's get into who Rachael was. So, she was a freshman at Sanborn Regional High School, 15 years old. She was the oldest of 4 kids, so she was a big sister, and she obviously sometimes got frustrated by babysitting. She was known as fun, outspoken, and a little bit rebellious. Sometimes she would just skip school and hang with friends, but I mean, I feel like a lot of 15-year-olds have done that. She loved animals, especially her horse, and she is definitely not the type to leave him behind.
To leave the horse behind?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a little precursor for later?
So Sanborn is pretty close to us. What? It's so true.
It was just really funny how I was like, do you want to talk about how close Sanborn is? And then you were like, yep, Sanborn is really close. Just made me laugh. But yeah, Sanborn is like literally, I mean, it's not the school that we would have gone to from our town, but it is actually closer than like the school that, you know, we're actually a part of the district of. So it's literally like Kingston. 5 minutes down the road. Like we live right there.
Yeah.
And that place, that Rose Corner Market, literally, like I used to go there as a kid all the time because it's right down the street. You know, I'd get nice drinks and stuff from there. And then one time my dad like actually told me, he was like, oh yeah, there's actually like a missing girl who was last seen there. So that's like
that's how we heard about it.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
I literally think about that case this case all the time.
I know, it literally happened, like, I know we talk about the other ones being local, but this one is like literally right down the road.
Like really local.
Like within a stone's throw. We frequent it, you know?
We do. We go on that road all the time.
Yeah, we get stuff from Rose all the time. Great people.
Saturday, March 22nd, 1980, was supposed to be an ordinary spring night in Newton, New Hampshire. But for Rachael Garden, that would be the last time that anybody saw her. Let's get into that night a little bit more. That night, Rachael told her parents that she was going to a sleepover at her friend's house. Later, we found out that that was not true, at least according to her friend.
Yeah.
And Rachael obviously never showed up at the house, so we're not too sure. But according to Rachael, to her parents, she was going to a sleepover at her friend's house.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like she was obviously planning something else for the night, you know, and that was kind of her cover story. See if there's any more information to see on, you know, where she was trying to go or something like that, or if there's any leads on that.
And this friend, she was actually babysitting and then ended up going out to a movie with completely different people.
So she wasn't even like made aware that.
Well, she wasn't like around. Yeah.
I wish like Rachael, you know, went to her friend and like told her what she was doing or something, and you know that'd be a lot more helpful. But then it would probably be solved. So
around 9:30 p.m., she walked into Rose Corner Market on Pond Street, Route 108. She was a regular customer. The store owner knew her pretty well. She just went in for cigarettes and gum and paid with a $5 bill, and she was on her way. Owner Peter Jewett recalls her smile, then seeing her walk toward Maple Avenue.
You know what's really interesting? So I don't know for a fact if there's any correlation here, but I'm just going to assume because it's a pretty like unique name that I've never heard before, and like obviously this is a pretty small area. The owner of the store, Peter Jewett, they owned the store. You know the store in our town right now, Jones General Store? That used to be called Jewett's when I was a kid, and it was owned by, obviously, the Jewett family.
Oh.
So, I don't know, a little connection there.
So, that night, Rachael was wearing a blue ski parka, a plaid shirt with silver threads, blue jeans, and brown leather shoes. She carried a dark blue tote bag with the word "Things" printed on it.
Things.
I feel like I see those bags all the time.
I feel like I've never seen a bag with the word "things" written on it. Like, I'm picturing, like, Thing 1 and Thing 2 from Dr. Seuss, dude. Oh, like, because you're carrying your things?
Yeah. So, her last confirmed sighting was leaving the market and walking north toward Maple Avenue. So, witness accounts year later, so people came out years later, 2 people recalled seeing Rachael standing by a dark car talking with 3 local young men she seemed to know. And these people also are recognizing the 3 men in the car as known troublemakers. And at least one later was found out to be convicted of a violent crime. it could have raised the possibility she got into the car or an argument ensued. I mean, we also were unsure of the witness who came forward, so there's just a lot of details that are just not concrete. Like,
it kind of sounds like, I don't know, it kind of makes sense to me. It's kind of adding up a little bit where she's...
Like, she actually planned to meet up with somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, she lied to her parents, you know, about what she was doing that night. She was obviously known for, you know, she was like buying cigarettes at 15. She's hanging out with known troublemakers. It kind of sounded like she was going to meet someone anyways. You know, maybe she could have met someone and it could have gone wrong. They're known as troublemakers. Someone was later convicted of violent crimes. You know, it could have, maybe she could have just met up with somebody and it could have just gone wrong from there and she was never seen again, unfortunately. You know, it was a case that happened a long time ago, so, you know, it was a lot more easy for someone to just go missing without a trace.
So let's get into the next morning. Let's fast forward a little bit to the morning of March 23rd. So obviously Rachael never came home the night of March 22nd. And at first her parents thought nothing by it, because obviously they assumed that she was going to be at the sleepover at her friend's house. So they just figured she was either sleeping in late or, you know, she was just hanging out with her friend. They just had a sleepover. But quickly that turned around and, you know, urgency ensued. Her family obviously assumed that she was safe at her friend's house overnight. That Sunday morning, Rachael's mom calls a friend up and discovers that Rachael never even arrived Saturday night. Now it's 10 a.m. So they caught this, I feel like, pretty early. Yeah. You know, because sometimes you know, your parents might not pick you up till noon, 11, you know what I mean? So at 10 a.m., the Garden family reports her missing to the Newton police. Newton PD at the time, there was only one full-time officer because the chief recently had passed away, unfortunately. They kind of had limited resources at the time, not to make excuses, but just to like openly say yeah,
there's only one full-time officer, so yeah, Newton's
but
a pretty small town.
Unfortunately, you know? this case was treated as a possible runaway at first. Due to that, no immediate flyers, the media barely covered it, if at all. Even at Sanborn Regional High School where she went, the school was only told that she'd be absent. So classmates had no idea she was even missing. They just thought she was going to be absent on Monday. Like, isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is crazy that they didn't like even really say anything to the school.
I mean, like,
so yeah, I mean, I can, you know, honestly, I can kind of understand, you know, maybe why they were kind of thinking it was a runaway, because she lied to her parents about where she was going, and then I don't know, and then she kind of just disappeared without a trace, and she was 15. But you know, and it's kind of tough for them because they only have one full-time officer, which is definitely unfortunate, right? And that, you know, that definitely doesn't help the case. It's kind of unfortunate that they weren't able to get some help from like a neighboring town or something that was a little bit bigger with, you know, maybe some more resources or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
So her family was immediately doubtful. Rachael left her retainer, all of her belongings, her clothes, and her horse.
I forgot about
she wasn't exactly packed up to go. Like, she was starting another life or running away. There was stuff that she would obviously want to take with her. I mean, not like you can take a horse, but like a retainer. Yeah, but
she'd obviously want to care for the horse. She wouldn't want to just leave it to die. Like, so yeah, I wish the police would take it a little bit more serious when the family was saying stuff like this. You know, if the family's pretty confident that she's not run away, I wish they would, you know, act with a little bit more urgency. Yeah, and her friends came forward and said that she would never leave her horse unattended. I don't know. And also thought that she didn't plan to run away. Yeah, she never told her friends anything about it. It always, you know, when people like leave stuff behind that they're, you know, obviously they're going to need, and especially when they're leaving behind like a, you know, an animal that they care about and, you know, obviously love, they don't want anything to happen to. It kind of, you know, obviously that starts to point a little bit more towards, you know, she wasn't a runaway, so. Yeah, like she was taken like without her consent, obviously. So obviously the word starts to spread that she is missing, and the community does start to band in. Volunteer firefighters, the Boy Scouts, neighbors, all searched neighboring woods, fields. They ensued helicopters to fly overhead, search dogs to track her scent, and other wooded paths like around the area. And despite
all of this effort, nothing really turned up, which was really unfortunate. No trace was found. Let's get into the investigation and what leads there were. So as the hours turned to days, investigators started to take this a little bit more seriously, thank God. They did chase every lead that was brought into them. Some looked more promising than others, but none ended up panning out, unfortunately. So the early weeks, there were rumors of Rachael being spotted at Hampton Beach and also Haverhill, Mass. So very two different locations, but still local.
Yeah, they're both
very
within,
interesting.
that's within 30 minutes of each other. That's not,
And her mother also personally drove to chase down tips. So if there was a tip that she was in
she drove all the way over there to see.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
All proved, unfortunately, to be false sightings, which is so unfortunate and frustrating. There's been a lot of focus now on the 3 young men that she was supposedly seen with that night. Unfortunately, that information wasn't brought, immediately. Anyway, so anything they're trying to collect from that, they're going to try and be scavenging. They start to get into the identities of these 3 young men, and they seem to have a reputation for getting into local fights, petty crime, and later one of them had more serious offenses.
Yeah, that violent.
So
yeah,
it kind of raises the question again if Rachael got in the car willingly on her own accord.
Yeah, she could have. Yeah, it's a good question. She could have definitely, been forced into the car or something without her consent. But she could have also. She was young, and maybe she was just a little naive at the time, and she was trusting some of the wrong people, and she just thought she was going to go hang out with some people for the night or something. It kind of seemed like she had the plans to do that anyway, so maybe she did get into the car willingly, and then obviously things took a turn for the worst for her, unfortunately.
Now, this is another piece of the case. There was an alleged barroom confession by one of these 3 men that were in the car with her.
Really?
Or in the car talking to her, rather. So one of the men that was in the car that night, supposedly, was at the bar and supposedly admitted to killing Rachael while drinking in Haverhill. Person he told this to obviously reported that to police, and this tip led to a search along Route 108 near a stone wall and a stream. They brought in cadaver dogs, and they indicated that remains could possibly be there, but it was not certain yes or no, but it wasn't a no. So police dug a 60-foot square section in the woods, and this was in 1989. Through this 60-foot square section, after hours of sifting through the dirt and everything in that 60-foot section, there was no body found. There could have been remains there, and they were moved, which is why there was maybe a scent, but not super indicative because there was no body. So that was in 1989, and then the next year, the 1990s, Major Crime Units re-examines the case, and it excavates another area in Newton, actually, and that also pulled up nothing. There were no updates in the case until 18 years later, in 2008, that there were some new tips that pointed to water. So they did sonar scans of the ice pond and divers in Country Pond over multiple days. And again, nothing recovered. Fast forward 5 years later to 2013, another tip was forwarded to the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit, and Kingston PD announced a $10,000 reward for any information on this case, and that's where it currently stands. Let's get into the theories a little bit. So with no body and no arrests, all that's left are theories, and they've just divided the town for decades. So first we have the runaway theory. Police lean this way at first because of her age, independence. She could be a little rule breaker a little bit, but she was also 15 and she did pretty much normal things that 15-year-olds would do, so.
The horse.
Yeah. She left her retainer again, her belongings, she left her horse behind. That's just not something that would line up with her character, yeah. I feel.
I don't really buy the runaway theory. I don't know about you.
I don't.
Well, and she probably would have come back. So obviously, I think that case is pretty much thrown out now. But maybe some people still think that.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder what happened to the horse. I hope it was okay.
Let's get into the second theory, which is involving foul play. So she was last seen with suspicious men, the bar confession rumor, and it sort of fits law enforcement's current stance, where investigators believe that she did die the night that she was supposedly taken. from Route 108.
This is the theory that I probably like think seems the most like reasonable to me.
I mean, he said he killed her when he was drinking, and he was drinking and driving in Haverhill, Mass. I mean...
Yeah, and she was seen with these suspicious men, you know. They were all recognized as people that had a bad, you know, like a bad kind of...
reputation.
Yeah, they had a bad reputation in town, and yeah, I don't know. I think to me this is definitely the most logical theory. I think it had something to do with these people, you know, that picked her up that night, and I think she got into the car willingly, because she maybe like trusted them. She was a little naive, and unfortunately they took advantage of that, and yeah, I think it had something to do with these people.
I agree. That leads us into the third theory, where if it's not these people, then who is it? Was it a stranger abduction? I feel like that's probably less likely. In Newton, where it's a small town and there's so many people that obviously knew everybody, recognized people's faces.
She was seen, and I think she was seen with people that like they recognized as troublemakers and stuff, and so. But I mean, you can't rule it out. I guess
I agree.
You know, I mean, it could always have something to do with a stranger, but I think that's definitely less likely.
Okay, so a month after Rachel went missing in Newton, there was a body found of a female in Manchester in April 1980, Manchester, New Hampshire. Her name was eventually found out as Lorraine Ron, but it was so close in time, which kind of led them to it possibly being Rachel.
Yeah, month after, close.
But there was no evidence of connection. And they later identified it as it being Lorraine Ron. 2 years later, fast forward 2 years later, in 1982, there was a female found, and they named her Princess Doe, in New Jersey, and they considered Rachel. However, they ruled it out by dental records and DNA. So unfortunately, that was also not a match. But many locals believe that someone in New Hampshire does know the truth, and by either fear, loyalty, or guilt, has kept them silent.
Yeah, someone definitely knows the truth, and it's probably the guy that was talking about it in the fucking bar. Or his friends. There's a couple other guys there too.
Yeah. For Rachel's family and for Newton in whole, her disappearance left a hole that was never really covered. The Garden family eventually moved away from New Hampshire, and her father passed away without knowing what happened to his daughter. After that, her mother just avoided interviews altogether, which I don't blame her.
Pretty reasonable, yeah.
I don't blame her. And so she was the oldest of four, and so all three of her younger siblings grew up missing their older sister. So in Newton, there have been some people say that they assume she moved away. Others just never stop wondering what could have actually happened. There's actually a statement from the police chief in obviously later years saying that she's part of the chemistry of the community, which it definitely shaped.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal around here. Like, you know, a lot of people know about that case. And yeah, I mean, it's just something, it just shows you that something can happen anywhere, you know. I mean, it happened literally right down the road. You know?
Yeah, and her classmates, they were shocked when they realized that obviously she didn't drop out, but she was actually missing, which is very scary.
Yeah, that's crazy that they didn't realize. They just thought she was done with school.
She has been occasionally featured in the media in 2007, 2013, and 2023.
And I think they always do, around here at least, I think they always do, I don't know exactly what, but like there's always something like every year around the anniversary of maybe her birthday, or I think the day she went missing or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is, but like I definitely like remember hearing about it. Like that's how I found out about it from my dad, who found out about it from, I think they're posting stuff on Facebook or doing coverage in the news or something like that, but it's definitely something that people hear about around here for sure.
Yeah. So today, more than 40 years later, Rachel's case is still open with the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit. Investigators believe she was the victim of foul play, and that she likely died the night she vanished. Her body has never been found, and no one has ever been charged. If you have any information, no matter how small, contact the Newton Police Department, the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, or the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit. Even after all this time, the right tip could finally bring Rachel's family, her mother, the closure they've been waiting for. Thank you so much for watching if you made it to the end. We'll see you next time on the next episode.